Is starch good for health? Without question, especially when it comes from whole grains, which offer a powerful combination of complex carbohydrates, fiber, vitamins, minerals, and plant compounds that work together to protect the body against some of the most common chronic diseases of our time. Far from being a dietary hazard, the starch found in whole grains is associated with a measurable reduction in the risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity. These foods have served as the nutritional bedrock of countless traditional diets across the globe, and modern science continues to affirm their value in promoting long-term health and resilience. Whole grains like oats, brown rice, barley, quinoa, bulgur, whole wheat, millet, and rye are packed with slow-digesting starch that provides sustained energy without the crash that often follows consumption of refined carbohydrates. Unlike processed grains, which are stripped of their bran and germ layers, removing much of their fiber and nutrients, whole grains retain these protective components. It's precisely these parts that make whole grains uniquely effective in preventing disease. Their starch is encased in natural fibers and bound up in a matrix of bioactive compounds that slow digestion, modulate blood sugar, and reduce systemic inflammation. One of the clearest examples of the benefits of whole grain starch is its impact on diabetes prevention. Whole grains help regulate blood glucose levels by lowering the glycemic index of meals. Their fiber content slows the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream, reducing the risk of insulin spikes and promoting better glycemic control over time. Numerous large-scale epidemiological studies have shown that individuals who consume more whole grains have a significantly lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The mechanisms are multifaceted. Whole grain starch not only improves insulin sensitivity, but also reduces chronic inflammation and supports a healthier gut microbiome, two crucial factors in metabolic health. Beyond diabetes, whole grains are protective against heart disease, the leading cause of death worldwide. Their complex starch structure, combined with soluble and insoluble fiber, helps lower LDL, bad, cholesterol while maintaining or even increasing HDL, good, cholesterol. Beta-glucans found in oats, for example, are particularly effective at reducing cholesterol levels and improving arterial function. Moreover, the antioxidants and phytonutrients in whole grains help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in blood vessels, further lowering the risk of atherosclerosis and hypertension. The slow-burning nature of whole grain starch also stabilizes blood pressure and reduces the burden on the cardiovascular system by minimizing dramatic post-meal metabolic swings. Obesity, another major public health challenge, is intricately linked to the type and quality of carbohydrates in the diet. Unlike refined starches and added sugars, which promote overeating and weight gain by causing blood sugar spikes and crashes, whole grain starch contributes to feelings of fullness and satisfaction. The fiber in whole grains increases chewing time, delays gastric emptying, and triggers satiety signals that reduce overall calorie intake naturally. This makes whole grains a powerful ally for those looking to manage or lose weight without the need for restrictive dieting. The starch they contain works in harmony with other elements of the grain to support healthy metabolism, stable energy, and appetite control. Furthermore, the benefits of whole grain starch are not just theoretical, they are observed consistently in real-world dietary patterns. Populations that consume diets rich in whole grains tend to have lower rates of chronic disease and longer lifespans. The traditional Mediterranean diet, for instance, which features a foundation of whole grains, legumes, fruits, and vegetables, is associated with a remarkable reduction in cardiovascular and metabolic diseases. Similarly, the traditional Asian diet, built around rice and whole grains, has long supported populations with low rates of obesity and diabetes until the recent introduction of heavily processed foods. Whole grain consumption also supports digestive health in profound ways. The resistant starch and fermentable fibers in grains like barley and oats act as prebiotics, feeding beneficial gut bacteria and leading to increased production of short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. These compounds strengthen the intestinal barrier, reduce inflammation, and support immune regulation. A healthy gut environment, fueled by the right kind of starch, is increasingly recognized as a cornerstone of overall health, not just digestion. The link between gut health and chronic disease is now well established, and whole grains play a direct role in maintaining this internal ecosystem. Crucially, whole grain starch is not something exotic or difficult to incorporate. It is widely available, affordable, and deeply versatile. From a morning bowl of steel-cut oats, to a quinoa salad at lunch, to a side of brown rice or whole grain pasta with dinner, the inclusion of these foods is both practical and enjoyable. Their neutral flavor and hearty texture make them ideal for combining with vegetables, legumes, herbs, and spices, creating meals that are not only nutrient-dense, but also deeply satisfying. It's important to remember that not all starchy foods are created equal. While refined grains and processed starches can contribute to chronic disease when consumed in excess, whole grains offer the opposite effect. They deliver the same caloric energy in a package that also heals, protects, and sustains. The problem is not starch itself, it's what we've done to it. When we return to traditional, minimally processed forms of grain, we reconnect with a source of nourishment that has supported human health for millennia. So yes, starch is profoundly good for health when it comes in the form of whole grains. These foods deliver a synergy of slow-release energy, metabolic regulation, digestive support, and long-term protection against the most pressing chronic diseases. In a modern food landscape filled with confusion and conflicting advice, whole grain starch remains one of the clearest, most evidence-based choices for building a resilient, vibrant life. Rather than something to avoid, it is something to embrace with confidence, knowing that every whole grain meal brings us one step closer to lasting wellness.